Just a quick side note, I actually did this set of notes after I was nearly done with the review, which as a result, it's gonna lack quite a lot in detail overall. It's a horrible excuse, but it is what it is. To start, like every other video, I made a mistake as usual. There's prone to be delays coming soon, but I'm working on to resolve the issue. It's slow, but it's working for sure. Either way, I have no idea why I'm still stuffing for years into the video. Anyways, I might just start doing these reviews a simple and direct way instead. There are things I like about it and logically things I don't like as well. But man, this car sure did exceed my expectations by quite a margin. To start with the general performance stats, its top speed isn't exactly good, but it's marginally acceptable overall and good for the price range as well as being a muscle in general. It's debatable whether it's actually decent as a muscle, which I'll admit, 110 isn't that high, but it's fine in terms of its age, and on top of that, the price tag. The acceleration though, is a lot more straightforward to go through. It's somewhat decent overall as a muscle or as a general civilian car. Still, for the price in general, there's not much to complain about to be fair. The handling is pretty decent as well. The suspension is tuned more towards the soft side, which does make it quite comfortable to drive, but not to the extent where it's floaty or even undrivable. It can have a bit of body roll at times, but it's fun to drive and reasonably responsive. The brakes are pretty good as well, especially taking into account for a 1967 muscle car of this size. I will say that the looks are pretty decent as well. I'm not the biggest fan of them, but it's not like that it's bad in general. I will say how it's not expensive, but then there really isn't much of a point on buying this. It barely costs anything to a normal mid-level player, but as I just said, it's kinda worthless. I'd rather spend this money on something that's more expensive but much more useful than a cheap muscle with decent stats. It's a good car though, but in the perspective of CP rates, it's not low. It's rather medium to high instead, but it just isn't that one car that feels that worth spending money on, even if it's barely anything.